Hey everybody, welcome back to Iphone Bloke, the tech tuber where we help quality people to pick up quality product. So in today's video, I have got very interesting comparison going, and this is in context to engine specification, primarily specification which talks about BHP versus torque. Which one should I have more in my engine? The advantages and the disadvantages, and many more important stuff. So let's talk about it. And I think this is a very productive video with context to the real-time value what a BHP brings if BHP is more in a particular SUV engines. So let's get started. Okay, so a lot of SUV engines these days boast about BHP, boast about torque. And this becomes even bigger when they talk about petrol SUV turbocharged engines. Does it really make a difference? Does it really have a huge impact when you buy an SUV? And if they say, you know what, my engine has 170 BHP of horsepower. So let's talk about it. Let me give you a clear idea about what exactly BHP does and what is the role of torque in an SUV engine with context to today's modern generation. Now, you have to understand BHP primarily talks about engines powerful approach. If any SUV, whether it's petrol or a diesel, happens to have more BHP, that means its acceleration, that means the engine is very powerful, and reaching, let's say, a pretty tough margin in a short span would be a cakewalk. For example, Formula One cars. For example, cars where people buy purposely for the purpose of racing and stuff. They happen to have very high BHP, but they may not have a high-end torque. So BHP's real performance talks about engine's powerful approach. BHP gives you a quick acceleration. BHP primarily gives an indication that your engine is extremely powerful. So that's one of the advantages with the cars, those who have BHP. BHP means muscles, and BHP stands for faster acceleration. BHP stands for constant power. BHP also talks about, the overall speed, the overall impact of your car, especially on the highway, especially when it comes to pulling power and stuff like that. So that is primarily a part about BHP. BHP. So that's a little segment about BHP. Cars like fast cars, speedy cars, they may not go for more of a torque because they want more of a powerful engine, because they do not want to wait for acceleration, and that is why BHP comes into consistence. So BHP in normal sense talks about brute power. What about torque? And who all vehicles need to have torque? Vehicles, those who believe in carrying particular load or particular bulk. For example, trucks. Trucks happen to have a very powerful torque compared to BHP, because the purpose of truck is to carry weight. And how quicker you carry weight from one place to another is the reason why most of the trucks, most of the heavy vehicles happen to have a lot of torque. So let's say if I talk about the automatic cars, they are pretty powerful. I mean, they may have 450 of torque, they may have 370 plus torque, because they really need to carry the bulk of a particular SUV. So primarily torque talks about carrying a weight in a quicker span, wherein BHP talks about brute force of an engine. Now, the important question which we all need to understand is the advantages and the disadvantages. So when you have very good torque in a vehicle, that means you do not need to downshift the gears. Your ride becomes more enjoyable. Wherein you may not have at the same time a low end torque if you happen to have more torque in a particular car. Let's SUV engines compared to more of a BHP. And that is why I say the engines, those who have more torque, happen to have more of a mileage compared to more of a powerful BHP engines. Let's say if you buy a bike of Yamaha today, the performance of Yamaha bike still RX100 is fantastic. But what is the mileage of Yamaha RX100? It's pathetic. The word is pathetic, honestly. 35, 34, but the way it pickups, outstanding, right? So BHP talks about power, talk about pulling capacity, right? Now let's talk about the disadvantages of BHP engine. Now BHP engines happen to have pricey taglines. More often than not, if there's a car which has more BHP, will be very, very costly. Let's say Toyota Fortuner, you have Endeavour, you have all these wonderful big cars, Ford Endeavour, pretty expensive. Jeep's top-notch vehicles, pretty expensive. So wherever you have more of a BHP based car, high configuration, they're bound to be on the pricey side. That's the only drawback I see with BHP cars. When it comes to torque nowadays has come pretty popular with turbocharged engines. So more often than not, the turbocharged engines, those who have a lot of torque, happen to be a little more peppy, a little more refined, and that is where the pulling power comes very, very handy with the engines, those who have high end torque. I hope I was able to clear your concept with context to BHP versus torque. BHP, once again, brute force, and torque is somewhat close, but talks about the pulling capacity of a particular engine. I hope this was useful. If this was, subscribe, give me a comment, like, and do connect with us on Instagram and Twitter to take this relationship forward, because I truly value every comment and suggestion from all of you. Till next time, take care.